Hi, and welcome to the Dia de los Muertos digital illustration project video. This is Mrs. McNulty, and I will demonstrate the steps to create this symmetrical, festive skull using the Autodesk Sketchbook application. Before we start this drawing, we did three things. We installed Autodesk Sketchbook, then we installed Google Drive file stream so that the Google Drive shows up in the Finder, and you accepted my invitation to collaborate on an art folder that we will share in Google Drive. This is where you'll store your digital art files or artifacts. All right, so before we choose which sculpt we're going to use, let's just look at the project rubric. So the project size is going to be 8.5 inches wide by 11 inches high. The skull is going to be bilaterally symmetrical, which means same on each side of the center line. All lines are going to be drawn with a paintbrush, and we could use a variety of sizes from probably 2.0 up to 5.0, mainly using 4.0 or 3.0. That paintbrush is found in the brush palette. All lines are going to be drawn with black. All shapes are going to be closed or complete so that they hold the color. All shapes are bilaterally symmetrical, same on both sides of the center line. The shapes are going to be colored using the Flood Fill tool up in the toolbar. All shapes are being colored symmetrically, the same on each side of the center line. You're going to use the layer editor to view the reference skull photo on the lower layer and draw and color the skull on the upper layer. The project will be saved by selecting File, Save As, and you save it as a TIFF file format. Name it Digital Skull, underscore your last name, and underscore your class and section. You save it as a TIFF when you want to resume working on it later and store it in your file, in your art file in the Google Drive. Okay? When you're completely finished with a project, you save it again as a TIFF file. You could save it with a different version in the file name, and then save it. Do another save as, file save as, and save it as a JPEG this time, using the same naming format. Okay. All right, so let's take a look at the project workflow. So the first thing we're going to do is select and save your skull reference photo. So we're going to go to our Google Classroom and choose one of the skull reference photos from the ones provided. So you can take a look at those. Here they are. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm not sure where number 2 went, but I think I am going to choose to use this one this time. So what you want to do to be able to download it is go to these 3 buttons in the upper right-hand corner, click on that, and say Open in a new window. And then you're going to hit the Download button. Okay, it's going to show up probably in the lower left like it did for me. You're going to say Show in Finder. Okay, when it's in Finder, we're going to hold down on the trackpad. I'm going to do it with my left finger, a finger on my left hand, and we're going to drag and drop the skull into that art folder that we share. So we'll bring it up to the Google Drive, hover, open, hover till that opens. Then you're going to go to your file. Oh, there it is. Wait till that opens, and then let go with your left finger on the trackpad, and it will drop into your folder. Okay, so that's called the drag and drop method. Now we're going to go to Sketchbook and click or select File, Page Setup. We're going to make sure that it is set to US letter, which is 8.5 by 11. That's the size that we want our project to be, that we're in a vertical orientation, and that the scale is 100. Hopefully it just defaults to these settings, but you want to check that. Okay. Next thing we want to do is go up to Image and click on Image Size, right? And in this window, what we want to do is uncheck keep proportions. That'll allow us to choose the proportions that we want without affecting the other proportion. Okay, and we want to be in inches. If you're not, then you select the drop down and then select inches. Okay, again, we said the width is going to be 8.5, so we type that in, and our height is 11. And I'd like to, in the resolution, type in 150. Okay. All right, that looks good. We'll hit OK. Now we're going to go get our image that we saved in our folder and put that onto our document. When we do that, coming up to File and Add Image. Okay. Let's see which one to go. Okay, I'm going to go with that one. I already had a few in there. Okay, and there he is. Now, if it did not, kind of like placed itself perfectly on my document. If it did not, you can grab the magnifying tool. Okay. This tool is very handy. It does two things. If the middle is highlighted where the magnifying glass is, it changes the size of something. Okay. The outer circle changes the position on the art board, so the whole thing moves. Okay. It kind of showed up like this one. That would allow me to just move the image up and down. So when you place your image, and if it comes in too large, then you'd want to use this tool to size it almost to the edge of the document. Okay, so you have a lot of room to work, but you can still see the page on your art board, it's called. Okay. Next, we're going to make sure that you have your layer editor open. If it's not there, you go up to Window and click on Layer Editor. Anything that's checked means it's already showing. Okay, so mine's showing. If yours isn't, though, just click that and it will appear. In this, what I want to do, the background is our first layer, our piece of paper. Our skull is there. This layer, there's nothing on it right now, so I think what I want to do is I want to move that above my skull. I'm going to draw on this layer. This is our reference layer. You can always rename something by choosing those circles and then rename. So this, I'm just going to say, is my skull reference photo. And click OK. We won't really get our layers mixed up this time, but if, say, you were working on something, you had 15 different layers, it might help to have them named so you know which one is which when you're looking at your layer editor. This one I'm going to rename to Drawing and Color, because that's where I'm going to do my drawing and do my color. All right, back here, I'm going to lower the opacity. When you're on a layer, it is highlighted with the blue. Selected. I'm going to lower that opacity a little bit so I can still see the image, but it's not as bright. Okay, because I'm going to draw on that. It sometimes gets a little hard to see where you're drawing if the image is too bright, so I'm going to take that down. Okay. Now another thing I want to do on this layer is lock it. I don't want to make a mistake and draw on this layer, so I'm going to lock it so that I can't draw on it, and then move back up to my drawing and color layer. Okay, now next thing I want to do is select my the brush that I'm going to use to paint with. Okay, that's going to be from the brush palette. Okay. So again, if you don't have this brush palette showing, okay, and you can move around any of these palettes. If you grab this little top section or the little gray at the end, you can move them around on your artboard. If you don't have a palette that you need, go to Window. This one's called the brush palette. It's already checked, meaning that it's showing. So I'm good. This is the paintbrush that I'd like you to use. You can always experiment with the other ones on on your second project, but on this project I'd like you to use the paintbrush. And if you double click on the paintbrush or any of those tools, this brush properties window will come up and give even more selections, okay, more detailed selections. So for the outline, I'm going to ask you to use 4.0. It's a nice, not too wide, not too skinny for our major outline, and the opacity is 100. Okay. Now, the next thing we want to pick is the symmetry tool so that we're not drawing the entire skull. We're drawing, just on one side, and the other side will show up and it will be symmetrical. So this is the symmetry tool. We'll click on that. We know that's engaged when you see the dotted line running down the middle of your image. Right. Now I am going to start to draw. Oh, another thing we didn't pick was the color. So the color is picked. I'm going to have you use this palette window. It's called Copic Library. Copic means that it's a type of marker that you can buy. So it's makes sense that they would give you all and they have all these colors in different markers. So they are giving us those in this application. You can select from a family of colors, by the top slider here, but I'd like you to use this black for drawing the outlines of all the shapes, and then you can use the other colors for filling in your shapes. Okay, so this black is down here. All right, so I'm in the paintbrush at 4.0. I'm in black. I'm using the symmetry tool, and I'm ready to start. I'm going to start just a little bit over the midline, just to make sure that when I come, or when the line meets, that it's definitely going to be closed. Okay, so I'm going to click down on my trackpad, and I have mice if you'd rather use those, following the outline. And when I get down to the bottom, again, I'm just going to go just a little bit over that center line just to make sure that my shape is closed. Okay, now I'm going to come up to my eye socket. Again, I'm going to click down on my trackpad with my left finger, one of my left fingers, and draw the eye socket shape with my right hand finger. Okay, making sure when I get back up there that it's definitely overlapping. Next, I'm going to do the same thing, start just a little bit on the left side of the line of symmetry, come down and draw my nose and go over just a little bit, making sure it's closed. All right. Now, I'm going to draw the teeth. Okay, that'll be the last real, well, we could draw this little space too. It's almost like looking through the jaw there, making sure it's closed. Okay. Now for the teeth, I think I might even go down to the 3.0 for the teeth, but you could stay at 4. Okay, now to get a better view, I think we should zoom in a little. So we're going to go to the zoom tool, be in the magnifying section, and I'm going to swipe up a little bit when I'm in that tool. If you want to reposition the view on your screen, then go to the outer circle and grab up. Okay, both times I was going up to move it and to enlarge it. Okay, that's a much better view of the teeth. Now we're not working down at the bottom of our screen, and then when you're finished with that, just click the X to get out of it. Go back, choose your paintbrush, make sure you're in symmetry again. If you get out of the drawing, you always have to go back and say I want to be in symmetry again. And by the dotted line. I'm going to start here. Maybe these teeth aren't going to be perfectly symmetrical in the photo, but that's okay. I drew that one. I picked my finger up. I'm holding down on the left side of the trackpad with one of my left hand fingers, and then drawing with the right hand finger. And again, you could use a mouse if you'd like. Now, when I'm drawing the teeth, I'm making sure that they're connected to the shape that it's next to, which assures me that it's a closed shape. All right, we're close to finishing out this video. So for the end of this, I'm just going to say let's finish up with the teeth, and then we'll pick up after that.